It's like, what's the holdup?
I know. Me too.
Jesse's uncomfortable with silence. I'm very, yeah, I don't like silence.
I'm guessing that's.
Seven.
Much when you're around.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock. I'll call the Village of Blair's board meeting to order. Please silence all cell phones and refrain from using during the meeting. I look for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Public appearances and citizen comments and items not listed on this agenda. Items will not be debated or acted upon in this meeting, but will be referred to the proper staff or committee if action is required. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Okay. Item 4, approval of the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, new business. Consideration discussion dog park lease agreement. And Shelley, you want to speak on that?
Well, I just wanted to be here and available for questions. Really, the contract is between the village and the New Glarus home. So our organization, New Glarus Cares, is paying for the basically supplies and installation, everything to stand up the dog park. Essentially, right? But the village would, through this agreement with New Glarus home, would be responsible for the ongoing lease agreement, which would include payment for both use of the land as well as mowing, right? That's all incorporated into one. So that's really what you're taking action on tonight. So our organization isn't a party to that, but I wanted to be here and available in case you had questions.
Yeah, and I would just add to what Shelley said, she's exactly right. Tonight, we're just looking at the lease agreement. Matt Strife from the home has already reviewed the agreement and kind of gave his blessing to move forward to have the village board review and approve. If the board approves tonight, Roger and I and Matt will sign the contract this week. There will be one additional meeting at the board to discuss the final details with the dog park, signing the fee schedule, et cetera, a few more final details. But this would allow New Glarus Cares to get the fencing ordered and get moving on the installation of the fence and kind of get going on the dog park to meet their goal of opening up the summer. So.
Yeah, so just to comment on that really quickly, if approvals are granted tonight and the contract signed this week, I had talked to Scott. The fire department was up there and burned off the area in the spring for us, but it is completely overgrown again because the home hasn't been mowing it while we haven't occupied it. So I think Scott and his team are willing to mow the area because we really need that to be done. It's waist high almost right now. Because I've been up there and tried to walk around and even find the markers where we had marked out the boundaries. So if that can be done, not before this weekend, but the following weekend, the weekend of the 12th, we'd like to get a small group out there to do the post-hole digging that weekend. And then one of the 2 following weekends, depending upon volunteer availability, when I can get enough people lined up to do the work, to actually do the majority of the fence installation, before the end of the month. We do still have a couple things that we're working out for the lock system. I had shared some information with Kelsey, and so she and Megan are going to be talking a little bit more about that. But we would like to get the project completed and have like a, ribbon cutting or whatever before the end of the summer, so sometime in August, so that we can open it up to the public for use.
And the only other thing I would add is in the lease agreement, you'll see under section 5 of rent, the lease cost is $900 a year. And once again, that was agreed upon with Matt Strife. So we'll surprise him.
And the leaseor is also mowing, right? I think.
The New Glarus
in
home
the
is
lease-
responsible for mowing and responsible for the snow removal. That's really minor. We had discussed with the home about just potentially removing snow right at the gate where you would get in. But obviously there's no plowing required inside the park.
And it's about 2 acres, right?
Roughly, yeah,
Roughly.
4 or 5 acres sectioned off for small dogs, and then it's just over 1.5 acres for the large dogs.
I will say I've been to the dog park in Oregon and the one down in Monroe. they have some very extensive rules and regulations. that Sometimes we gotta.
Yep, that's,
those-
that's among those big
Things on
steps.
the next,
Yep.
that'll be on the next agenda,
Yep.
so we have, like, part of our budget is all the initial signage, so. That would include like the rules that would be published and posted up there. We intend to put a sign up there, which we shared and I believe got official approval at Park and Rec for. That's more of like a welcoming sign up there, and then a couple of wayfinding signs, that I'll need to talk with. I'm not sure if the village would have to approve it or if, the home would have to approve it, but one we're looking at, like at the bottom of the hill where you turn to go up to the lodge. So
Sure.
at the corner where there's a sign already for the lodge, we'd like to put a small sign pointing people up the hill to the dog park. And potentially even one at the corner of, what would it be, Second Street and Third Avenue. Again, similar to where the Niggler's home has their signage there as well. So that would all be baked into the cost that, the initial cost that we're funding.
And anything approved at Park and Rec will come to the board. So at that next meeting, all of those finer details, and I'm hoping to have all these answers at the next meeting, but for sure by the first meeting in August, will all be discussed. And I'm really confident that we can get the rest of this approved in one board meeting.
So like in terms of fees and all of that, that has to be determined yet,
Yep.
correct?
That'll be part of your next discussion, but
And
yeah,
then,
my hope is that because we have had, as long as it remains, budget neutral for the village, that you're collecting the same like annual pass, the same amount, regardless of whether they're a resident of New Glarus, the village of New Glarus or not, because we have had contributors to the dog park who are from the township. We've had contributors who are from neighboring towns, Monticello and Belleville. People don't have access to a dog park in this area. The closest ones are in Dane County or Monroe, but if you've ever been to the one in Monroe, it's basically just a very small chain link fenced in area where you can, yes, let your dogs run. But there's no them going off and exploring. And, here, this experience will be more like the Dane County parks where you have at least a little opportunity to hike up through the area with your dogs.
and then the plan is to mow the entire 2.5 or you?
No. No. The small dog park area, yes, you'd have to, because some of those dogs are pretty small and the grass would get taller than the dogs. The larger dog area, no, there'll be a few paths that we intend to mark out to keep those mowed. But no, we're not intending to mow the entire large dog.
And then
space.
the home is responsible for mowing, but they're not going to send us a bill for mowing.
It's part of your
Part
$900.
of it. Then I have one more question. I'm sorry, but
Okay.
what happens if someone is bitten by a dog that in there in terms of liability? Do we have
It's
to?
our liability, it's our, meaning the
Does that-
villages, it's the village's liability.
It's covered under liability, but it'd be no different than the liability that if somebody falls off the park equipment, they.
So we're not gonna pay more?
Exactly, exactly. Yep. And we've checked that with our insurance, and our attorney obviously drafted this agreement. The other thing I will add to Shelley's comment about being budget neutral, she's absolutely correct. As long as there are no tax dollars, village resident tax dollars on this project, the village fully intends to keep it at a flat rate, whether you're a resident or not. If tax dollars start getting involved, that's where that non-resident and resident fee comes into play. But the plan right now is to avoid that.
I think it's important to know that we have no idea how the first year's gonna go.
Right.
And we do the minimal amount of anything right now and just see what we don't know, right? And other than that, I'm clear to, does anybody have any other questions? Go ahead.
Are you guys going to be, this is the first way of seeing this, are you going to be selling permits?
Yes, that's the one kind of outstanding item is we are looking at potentially e-commerce vendors where it can all be done, online. But if you're buying a monthly or an annual pass, you would have to register your dog with the village. So then that would be part of the online process. So you get a whole lot more fees for just dog registration on top of whatever the park fees are. But excuse me, daily, we also intend to sell daily passes for visitors. they wouldn't have to provide any upfront documentation. They
And-
pay a one-time fee to access the park and
And it would be accessed by a code.
And
Right.
who's gonna enforce all this?
It would be,
well, there'll be a code to
Right.
get in.
But unless also they couldn't get in, then okay.
right,
'Cause
right,
I'm waiting for the people to call and say, you know, this
NGP.
person's in here and doesn't
Oh,
come in.
yeah.
Do we need to then have an ordinance where
Well,
we
they-
can enforce?
It would be no different than, I would say, with the dog license, or like a park permit. If somebody would rent the park and not have a permit to do so, we'd handle it in that situation.
I'm just ordinance.
Yep,
Don't-
yep,
We don't
yeah,
have an ordinance.
No, and as Jesse said, we don't know what we don't know, so I think this first year especially is going to be a figuring it out year. And you know, the system that Shelley is explaining is the ideal kind of system, right? Where we have auto renews, we can track activity. But realistically, that might not be something that we can financially achieve right away. I hope it is, we're looking into it, but if it's not, it may be as simple as how you get a dog license now, where you have to, you know, fill out a form, and we could probably put that online, so it's more accessible outside of normal business hours. But we want to make this as user-friendly as possible, but we're also very cognizant of the financial restraints of keeping this budget neutral.
Well, if somebody comes to the dog and they have their friends from out of state come bring their dog along, how will we know that their
So they're not
friends?
gonna be able to control for that.
Right.
That wouldn't happen that often, would you think?
I don't think
I
so.
feel like if it does happen, we send Jeff after him though.
Well,
That's what I'm worried about. People are gonna share the code and then, you know,
Yeah.
people are gonna complain, they know Susie Smith doesn't have a permit, we're gonna get
Jeff,
called.
Yeah, what I would say is we get a ton of those calls now in regards, like the clerk's office does, in regards to dog permits. We get calls every single week from somebody that says, so-and-so doesn't have their dog license, so-and-so doesn't have a chicken permit. I mean, it's really one of those things where we reach out and remind them that they need a permit and,
But that's where I'm going with
yeah,
Kelsey.
yeah.
We have an ordinance for that, we don't for that.
yeah,
Something.
right, and it's
We may have
something
to
we
look
can
into.
certainly add to that ordinance. Yep.
if it develops to be a problem where we think people are there that haven't paid, you could have even just a colored bracelet that was put on and off by Velcro or something. And a certain color would be a year pass, and other color would be daily. So they have to have, but of course, if they buy a daily one, which day is it for?
Yeah, let's just
So
keep,
we'll probably not
yeah,
think about that until there's a problem.
yeah, let's just see what happens after the first year, and if we have to make adjustments, we can.
I don't think there's gonna be many problems myself.
Anyone?
I'm not a dog owner.
So, I mean, kind of based on what I'm hearing now, so I think one of the things, is that, maybe at least in the first year, unless you and Megan decide that this e-commerce platform that we're looking at is a good replacement for your active platform that you
Yep.
have today for Park and Rec.
Yep.
Then it probably isn't worth the investment in year one until we see what
Right.
kind of,
Right.
Yeah.
volume
Right.
we're going to
Right.
get.
Right. Yeah, and we're still looking into the active, we're trying to figure out if they can even accommodate something like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with that. I mean, we want this to be as user-friendly as possible and as accessible as possible, but we also want to make sure that we're not.
Right.
We are recouping those fees. So, yeah,
And it is a 2-year lease,
correct.
renewable unless one of the parties gives them notice 180 days before due.
Correct.
Okay. Motion to approve the dog park lease agreement.
Check.
I second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Consideration discussion of water reservoir project disbursement request number 6.
Yeah, so we have Amy here. We haven't seen her in a little while, but we're back.
Okay,
Um,
so you can all see me.
Yes, please do. The disbursement request is in your packet, and I'll turn it over to Amy for any further comments.
Sure, I can just give a quick update, because I do have it's a 2 pay requests and disbursement requests. So I may be a new face to some of you. I haven't been here in a few months. And Amy Bars and with Town and Country Engineering, we've been working with the village on this project to construct a new water reservoir. Long County W and the water main that connected it to the village's system. We've been working with the village for many years on water-related projects and hope to be in the future. But this project in particular, we had 3 different contracts that were bid and awarded. The first contract is contract A, that's for DN Tanks. They're the ones that built the concrete structure up there, the reservoir. Their contract is finished, and what I have for approval tonight is their last pay request, is pay request number 4 for $89,842.25, and that will close out their contract. I also have a change order that takes out a few things from their contract, a couple supplemental bid items that we ended up not needing for additional excavation and structural fill and fencing, silt fencing. We didn't need those items, so we removed those from their contract. So I have that for approval, the change order and their pay request. I also have a pay request from Beyond Limestone. They got the contract for installing the water main up to the reservoir and doing all the site work associated with the reservoir and paving. This is not their final pay request, but it's very close. So their pay request is for $126,111.43. It's slightly over their original contract amount just because of the quantities of things. So there's a couple pages of their pay requests that give details on the quantities of things. Mainly, they had a little bit more rock excavation, and we had to install a temporary access road that was beyond what was in the original contract when it was bid. The whole project overall is under the budget that was originally set. We were required by rural development, the funding agency, to include a 5% contingency as part of the funding package. We haven't really even touched that yet. So, so these 2 pay requests are for those contracts. And then there is a third contract that we've not any pay requests on yet. That's for improvements to the SCADA, the communications equipment between the new reservoir and the village's water system, and then also making some upgrades at the well houses, the existing well houses and the existing reservoir. That's all in the works. Installation of that equipment is supposed to begin at the end of August. We have a shop test where we go test everything out in the contractor's shop in middle of August. So once we're done with that, then they'll do the installation, and then I'll probably be back here in the fall with the, wrapping up that part of the project, and then everything will be done at that point. So I've got, like I said, I've got a number of things here. They're all under one agenda item, but I have a disbursement request. So that is disbursement request number 6. This is where we tell USDA Rural Development the amount of money that the village is spending that you want to take from your interim financing and pay the contractors. So that request is showing that we're asking USDA to use $183,649 of your interim financing to pay for these 2 pay requests. And then we also are requesting money from the EPA for the $1 million grant that the village got for this project. We're requesting $67,651 from that grant. It brings us very, very close to spending the full $1 million, but actually, because we removed some items from the total scope of DN's contract, that meant we didn't quite spend the full $1 million yet. I'm going to try to figure out if there's a way to get the rest of that, it's like $2,000 some dollars out of that EPA grant. But right now we're sitting at just under the $1 million that was awarded through that. So essentially I have 5 documents that need signatures and approval. The 2 pay requests, the change order, the disbursement request from USDA, and the EPA disbursement request. So, and I can leave those all for signature. And I'm happy to answer any questions about the project or anything you guys want to know.
Do you have any questions?
Once that's up and running, does that change any of the residents in the village water? Will we notice more pressure?
It's set at the same elevation as the other reservoir. So in terms of pressure, no. It's operating right now. So if you haven't noticed anything, then that's good. I can't remember exactly when it went online. I want to say early June. So it's been up and
I
running.
know in the evenings, the white wine is coming out.
Oh, isn't that yeah, so it's operating. We don't have all the controls on it, so we aren't able to see the water level in there, but we know that it should be about the same as the water level. So the water level in your older reservoir is what's controlling the wells and telling them when to turn on. Eventually, we'll have equipment installed up there that you could run those wells off of that reservoir or this. So it's got water in it, it's fully functional. It's just not quite ready to go with all the rest of the.
You say the current water tower or the original one is at the same elevation as the one in W?
In terms of the water, the height of water in the,
Oh,
it should be, yes. And, well, what we did set as the same is the overflow elevation.
Okay.
And they will, because of how the system works, they are going to fill at slightly different rates, but they are intended to provide the same pressure throughout, whether you're running on one or both.
That was the reason for making the same elevation.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
because we get one higher than the other, it's gonna cause,
Well, and then you'd have to have a pressure reducing station. So like if you built a higher one, then you'd have to reduce that pressure through a pressure reducing valve, a pressure reducing station for the rest of the village. What the village chose to do instead, and this is something that's been planned for years, is to build them at the same elevation. And then if you end up having development that's at a higher elevation, that development's going to need a booster station. And the site at the new reservoir is set up that there's a transformer there, and there's kind of a plan that if that area were to eventually develop, which was the plan, that there's room for a booster station on that site.
So are they the same capacity to have the same
are.
pressure?
They are about the same. They're about 300,000 gallons each, and they should, whether you're running off of one or the other or both, should provide about the same pressure.
But as long as they're the same elevation, it doesn't matter if they would be different capacities?
Doesn't matter. They just kind of float on the system, if that makes sense. They just rise when the wells are running up to a certain point, they reach it at a certain elevation. And if you're running off of the controls on this one, that'll tell the wells to stop. If you're running off the controls on this one, that'll tell the wells to stop when you get to a certain height of water in the reservoir.
I think, as I remember, they made it the same so that there'd be a certain number of days if the power went out,
Yeah.
they could supply to the whole village.
Yeah, because originally the village didn't have enough to even have like a full
Exactly.
day of storage. And ideally you want to have at least that much. So now you have the benefit of both of them online.
Thank you.
Anybody,
so Amy, have we got a total on what disbursements are? Over the whole 5
So,
and 6?
I don't know if you have all these.
Yeah, they're all in your
Yeah,
packet.
so far you have spent, if you look at the far right-hand corner, 2,148,000.
Okay.
And that, that's how much is claimed to date through all of these disbursements. And this one is for 250.
okay,
And we would still have some, we have not spent any of the contract C amount, which is close to $500,000. So that's coming yet.
motion to approve water reservoir project disbursement request number 6.
A second.
Okay. Motion second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Amy.
Yeah, can I leave all these pieces of paper?
Yes,
for you to
please.
sign? I forgot to bring my little tabs that say sign here.
Right there.
You can sign them after the meeting and I'll see
Yeah,
them back to you
actually-
tomorrow.
Yeah,
Or do you want us to sign now?
no,
Okay.
I'm just gonna show you all of them. So actually, this one has your name on it. I'll see if we get Lauren just to sign those. So this needs to be signed, this needs to be signed, this needs to be signed, this needs to be signed. And this.
Okay, we'll find them.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. I'll shoot you an email tomorrow.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, moving on. Consideration discussion facade improvement grant application for 618 Railroad Street, page 30.
Yeah, so we, at CDA last night considered another facade improvement grant application from Abby. Abby's with us tonight. She is the new, business owner in town at 618 Railroad Street in the old hair salon. Her business is called Alpen House Market. Abby, do you want to give a little background on what the business is?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Abby Braisman, and I'm the new owner of Alpen House Market, as we said. It is a vintage and artisan collective. So part of the store is all vintage home furnishings, and then the other part of the store has a bunch of new Glarus' amazing local artists and showcases their work. So I've been open the door almost a month now, and it's been so fun, so exciting. And so I'm here tonight to answer any questions about the facade improvement grant for my exterior signage. So the main building sign in the front, and then one on the side to hit all the cat, people coming out on that side, and then on the back as well to people going on the bike trail. So
The CDA reviewed this last night. Her application meets all the requirements. There was one part that we talked about at length, which was the multiple bid requirement. This was a specific situation where with signage, you contract with the designer and you can't take those designs to, another sign place and have it printed. So the CDA approved this facade improvement grant, not at the $3,174.30 as listed in the application, but at a 90% rate of that due to the only having one bid. So they approved it at $2,856.87. There was a long discussion about setting precedent, making sure that if we want to change guidelines in the future, they can revisit that. And John, Nikki, feel free to add anything that I'm missing. But that was kind of the length of this.
Yeah, our big concern was setting precedent, but I think having that in there and maybe we're fine with it. We move
so very
forward.
much.
But it might require us to review
Yeah.
and maybe do a kind of.
Just out of curiosity, have we had businesses get facade improvement grants for signs before?
This is the first one that I'm aware of.
Oh, nice.
Mhm.
But it's included in the list of
Code
options.
compliant signage,
Yeah.
and Abby will have to obviously work with our building inspector to get a sign permit and.
That was my question,
Yeah.
too, was, we've never worked with signage before. So.
It's going through all the approval process.
And your lighting will be solar, so that'll be nice.
Okay, so you are complying to the sign ordinance then.
So the sign company works with the building inspector that you guys gave me to test it, make sure everything's approved before anything can go in.
Okay.
One of the
Oh, good.
important caveats of the facade improvement grant is that in order to be eligible, you can't begin physical labor on it, so that's why we're at the.
I'd move to approve the facade improvement grant application from Alpen House Market.
Second.
I just want to clarify, are you approving it at the
That's the
90%?
90%.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
I'm abstaining.
Okay. Got that, Chelsea? Okay. Motion carries. Item 6, consideration discussion library project update. Amy?
Okay, so as you can all see, the building is down now, so that's very exciting.
Fast.
Yeah, no, it's easier than we anticipated as well, and there were no hiccups, all the monitoring and everything went well. We had a budget meeting yesterday, I believe it was. We are on budget, actually a little bit under, so that is a very good thing. Another big piece of news yesterday, we received a $10,000 donation for our work in the new library yesterday. So, anonymous donation, don't know who it was, but, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so,
It was
and
me.
It was wait for that. Your artwork too.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. We might not want to have one.
What are you saying? I'm very artistic.
yeah, numerous other calls recently just about if we're accepting donations for anything or endowment and things like that. So all good news there, and we are submitting our first pay request this week to DOA for the disbursement of funds for OPN architects. So we're moving along. I think things are moving pretty fast. If anybody has any questions, feel free.
Have you noticed, Amy, since the library now is finalized the location, that people are inquiring about donating and
Yes.
good.
Mhm, they are.
We're
Thank you.
Someplace else is building a new library.
A lot of places, with this FFP grant, there are tons all over the state.
Yeah, I thought you said, somebody said something about 23 were given,
Yeah.
grants.
Good.
Yeah.
Is that all, Amy?
That's all.
Okay,
Thank
you. Okay, we will move on to announcement. The village board will adjourn in closed session pursuant to state statutes 1985 1E, deliberating and or negotiating the investment of public funds, conducting other specific public businesses whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, and may reconvene to open session pursuant to state statutes 1985, sale of library property. Peggy's going to excuse herself, and we'll need a
As soon as they,
motion.
to go in, yep.
Motion to go to closed session.
Thank you, everyone.
Second,
Okay. Roll call.
So Peggy has removed herself, so Larry,
yes.
Jesse,
Here.
John,
Yep.
Becca.
Yep.
Sarah.
Here.
Roger.
Yes. Smart.
Okay.
Do I need to abstain since it sort of affects my work?
Yeah, you should get out of here.
No.
No, I'm good.
I would say this, what we're discussing tonight doesn't
Yeah.
impact, because it would be up to the supervisor to define what they're gonna do.
Okay, so
Okay, so sorry. Let me get into this. I have some documents to share with you. Well, obviously, Amy is staying in here and can provide some insight too, if you wouldn't mind passing these around. There's one stack. Sorry, there's a lot. There's two stacks. And there's three stacks. Yep. So you should each have three documents. As you may have gathered from our closed session.
Yeah.